Hey everyone, we are so glad you guys could make it to this How to Rock Social Media webinar. We have a lot of people joining in. We're going to get started. As you come in, feel free to leave your name and what you advocate for and where you're from in the chat box. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, again, use that chat box and we'll get to the questions at the end. So feel free to ask anything, leave comments, and I'll be manning that. Today, we have Marie Ennis-O'Connor, who we are very lucky and fortunate to have because she was recently named one of Health IT's top 100 global social media influencers. So seriously, the best of the best. She is a social media consultant that focuses in the healthcare industry. So we are so fortunate to have her. We're really excited. We can't wait to learn everything. We're going to get started and we're going to learn how to rock some social media.
Well, hello everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with you all today to speak to you about something that really excites me, social media. And it really excites me because I have seen firsthand in my own work as a patient advocate how truly transformative social media can be, both personally and professionally. Now, if you're like me, of a certain age, and you can remember back to a time when social networking was just something that we did at parties or at work events, you might also remember a time when you experienced your illness in isolation. I certainly remember that time. For me, it was back in 2004 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And really, that was back in the mists of time. It was the age of the digital dinosaur, when Facebook was barely a twinkle in Mark Zuckerberg's eyes, and tweeting was still a full 3 years away. And this always-on connected social world that we take for granted today was still a futuristic dream. But here we are, all together, brought together today by social media. I'm sitting in my living room in the west coast of Ireland, speaking to you in different parts of the world. And that thought still blows me away. So I wanted to start with that introduction, because when I teach social media, when I teach workshops, when I speak at conferences, I always start not by talking about the tools and the platforms, and sometimes this surprises people, but I like to talk about what's at the very heart of social networking. Principles of conversation, of community, of connectedness. Because I believe that the people who are most successful on social media are the ones that truly get this. And I'm going to say this again, because I believe it's so important. Social media is not about the tools. The tools are just the platforms that enable the magic of social communication. And I see people getting caught up in how to master the tools, jumping straight on the latest social media platform, or trying to be on all of them at once. But the really smart people, like you, take time to master what the tools can do to foster sharing and to help people to learn and to do things together better. Your job as a patient advocate is to know how to trigger the technology so that you can better educate, better inform, and connect people to your cause. Now, with so many tools to choose from, it might seem overwhelming at first for those who are new to social media to know where to begin. And as with any new skill, start small and you'll build your expertise with time. We all have to start somewhere. Focus on mastering one tool really well before you move on to the next one. I know it's tempting to jump on every platform, but you'll really maximize your impact by placing your attention on a single channel. And this will allow you to master that channel before you move on to the next one. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that you should limit yourself to just one channel. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that you're likely to reduce your impact if you go overboard and you spread yourself too thin. For me, it makes way more sense to focus on a single channel, bring that to full capacity and maximize its impact before you move on. And the other key to success when you're starting out is to find your mentors and learn from others in this space. And if you're already at Jedi Master level when it comes to social media, consider how you might extend a hand to help someone climb that first or that next step on the digital engagement ladder. So, during this webinar, I'm going to share with you some of the tips and the tricks that I've learned over a decade of using social media as a patient advocate, but also in my professional life as a social media consultant. So whether you're just starting out with social media or you've been using it for a while, these tips are designed to help everyone. I want you to see it as an opportunity to get off on the right foot from the start if you're a newbie, and an opportunity to review what you're already doing and see if it can be improved if you're more experienced using social media. If you've any questions you'd like to ask me, then please do so using the chat feature on the screen. Then at the end of the presentation, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can, but if I can't get to your question, I promise you I'll follow up with you after the webinar. So let's get started. I'm now going to see if I can do some techie wizardry and share my screen with you so that you can follow along. And I'm going to show you some slides, and I'll also make these slides available to you after this webinar on SlideShare, and we'll be able to tweet that link to you. So let me see if I can do my techie mastery wizardry here. All right. So let's start with your social profile. How do you appear online? What will people's first impression be of you? And what might make them decide to follow you? My first piece of advice may sound a little bit obvious, but you really need to have a good screen name. So let's talk about what makes a good screen name. A good screen name, first of all, is logical. My name is Ennis-O'Connor, and the easiest, most logical screen name I could choose is Ennis-O'Connor, except I didn't. Because when I first started on Twitter 7 years ago, I didn't know I was going to want to rock social media someday, and I actually wanted to stay anonymous. So I chose the initials of my blog, Journeying Beyond Breast Cancer, as my Twitter name. And so ever since, I've been at JBBC, which doesn't tell you anything about who I am anymore. Today, I'm much more than my breast cancer, which prompted my Twitter name. But how about you? Do you want to be known by your illness? Do you want to choose a screen name that makes that explicit? Now, maybe you do, but perhaps you should also consider the longer-term implications of choosing a screen name. Now, you can, of course, change your username in your account settings, but I've been JBBC for so long, I'm kind of stuck with it. And besides, my actual name is already taken. So choosing the right image to use across your social networks is also vital to rocking your social media. An avatar is something used to represent you online, and this is usually in the form of a small picture, which you can use one of you personally, or you can use an image that represents something you want to be associated with, like an organization. Think of your social media profile or your picture, your avatar, as a visual signature of your activity on the internet. It's literally the icon that signifies who you are. And at a glance, people should be able to quickly identify that image with your interactions elsewhere on that particular social network, and ideally elsewhere on the web. So you know that when you first register with a social network, it's one of the first things that you're going to be asked to upload, a picture of yourself. And yet, surprisingly, many people still don't do this. Facebook is populated by mysterious silhouetted figures, and Twitter is littered with unhatched eggs. So don't be an egghead. Here are 5 things that you should consider when you're choosing an avatar for your social networks. First, choose an avatar that projects the image you wish to convey. There's no correct or incorrect image, but there will be the right or the wrong image depending on what you're trying to convey. Choose an image that you'll be able to use across all of your social networks and your blogs. This quickly establishes you in the eyes of others as the same person on one network as you are on the other. If you blog regularly and you use, for example, WordPress, try signing up with something like Gravatar or Discus, which are online widgets that will ensure that the same profile picture will be pulled in when you comment on others' posts on certain platforms. Now, think about the thumbnail. In all probability, most profile images or avatars are now mainly viewed through third-party apps on mobile devices. This means that image itself has to be recognizable in smaller dimensions than it appears on a desktop or on a laptop screen. These smaller images are known as thumbnails, And for your image to work as a thumbnail, your face must predominate in the original image. Think of framing your picture around your head and your shoulders, and then it's hard to go wrong. Follow the image dimensions for each social network. The different social networks have different dimensions and sizes for their social avatars, and these occasionally change from time to time, particularly with Facebook. Make sure that you upload the right size image for the social network in question, because uploading an incorrect size can cause the image to blur or for it to be rejected by the social network in question. I'm going to put together some show notes after this webinar, and I'll include a cheat sheet of image dimensions for the different social networks for you. Most social networks offer editing tools to get your avatar just right, and that's really handy when it comes to reviewing your thumbnail. But a program as simple as Microsoft Paint can be used, and you don't necessarily have to be a Photoshop wizard to create the perfect avatar. Okay, so finally, keep your image up to date. Unfortunately, we all age, and this is something we should consider when it comes to our ongoing use of certain avatars on social media. The key thing is that your avatar has to be recognizably you in the here and now, as you want people to marry up the online image with your appearance if they happen to meet you. As someone who has gone from no hair after chemotherapy to a lovely chemo curl, to dark hair, to blonde hair, and to varying lengths in between, I know I haven't always followed my own advice, but as I said at the outset, this is an opportunity for all of us to get it right going forward from today. Okay, so the profile is the larger context of your avatar. And so just like your avatar, it should convey the image that you want to project when others click on your profile. The purpose of your profile is to continue the story of you. But here, instead of focusing just on your face, we're going to expand your profile to showcase the you behind your avatar. Most social networks offer users a choice of a backdrop or a cover to add to your profile. So here's where you put your family picture or that picture of you rocking the stage when you speak at a conference. Whatever picture you want to choose one that tells the bigger story of you and what you are passionate about. So in essence, what you're trying to do is to pack all of the information you want people to know about your passion, what you care about, what you're good at, into a visual, an image that people will get straight away and say, ah, there's Marie, she's a passionate speaker. Here's my Google Plus profile. You see my avatar there in the bottom left-hand corner is the same as my Twitter avatar. And I uploaded a recent picture of me speaking at an event last month. And I hope you can see how happy I am in this picture to be speaking about patient advocacy and social media. So when it comes to creating your cover picture, you can find some really helpful templates in Canva with the correct dimensions for each platform built in. You can get really creative with this tool. I love it. To complete your social media profile, you'll also need to write a great bio, which can be a challenge. So I get it. You're a beautiful, unique, special snowflake, and you're being asked to summarize all of what makes you amazing in just a few sentences. You have to know how to strike the right balance between showing your personality, but also showing your professionalism. And here are some tips to help you. Brevity is key on social media. Twitter, for example, gives you only 160 characters to describe yourself. Obviously, you won't be able to express every single personality trait or accomplishment, and nor should you. Your bio is simply an introduction, a snapshot that represents the most important information someone should know about you in an instant. So approach your bio as you would a title or a headline, using clarity and focus. Get right to the point right away. But the constraints of social media are actually a blessing in disguise, I think, because it forces us to be brief and it can sometimes allow for greater creativity. So use this as your chance to say something new. Avoid overused buzzwords, and you know the ones I'm talking about: innovative, expert, and write copy that really stands out among the rest. Sometimes this is accomplished with a little bit of humor. I just love this example. But please, if you're going to attempt humor, do it with care. Highlight your accomplishments by specifically referencing the work that you're doing or projects that you've been a part of. It's okay to brag a little bit here because you've earned it. Connect your profile to others by using hashtags and links. On Twitter, tag other relevant networks. Use searchable hashtags to represent your passions, but please don't overdo the hashtags. As always, authenticity is so important, so just be yourself. Use the first person to appear more approachable. Add elements that create your true personality, so your hobbies, your interests, some fun facts, some personal anecdotes, whatever you can fit in there. Include at least one detail that sparks a bit of intrigue and will make you more memorable. So, we've perfected our profile and it's looking pretty rocking. So what's next? Well, we need to give people more of a reason to follow us than how we look. As with dating, looks may attract initially, but there needs to be more to grow and sustain a relationship. So, how do you engage people online? How do you build a community? How do you create trust and credibility over the long term? You start quite simply by valuing your followers. They've taken the time to read your blog, to retweet you, to share your Facebook posts, so show them some appreciation. Meet effort with effort. Take the time to acknowledge when a person follows you online, leaves a comment on your blog, or reshares your content. One of the simplest ways to acknowledge others is to mention people online. Always keep your eyes open for those who retweet you often or share your blog. Thank them for sharing your content. Follow up with those who take the time to comment on your blog. Favorite a tweet to let the person know you see them. From time to time, go out of your way to publicly and privately celebrate and acknowledge your audience. Here's a quick example from the Global Village of Stories, a new online community that I started last month. So you can create a very simple graphic like this to thank your community members and post it on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or Pinterest. And again, I'm aware that this sounds like, excuse me, very simple advice. Excuse me. I'm aware that it sounds like very simple advice, and maybe you're expecting some high-level advice, but you would be amazed how many people just don't take the time to do this, to meet effort with effort. Don't worry, the super tips are coming later, but I just want to make sure it's so important that you get things right from the ground up. My next tip is always to follow the reciprocity principle. Now, we all know those folks who only tweet you when they want you to read, to comment, to retweet their content. So don't be one of those. Don't get a reputation for only being interested when you want something. You can't expect people to care about your community if you don't care about theirs. So be generous in sharing their content too. And don't ask for followers or reshares. If you post good content, then guess what? You'll get more followers, and those people and other people will reshare what you post. So if you want people to get excited about sharing your content, give them something worth sharing. You know, the New York Times did a fascinating study on the psychology of social sharing a few years ago, and it revealed that people want to connect to other like-minded people. They want to support issues that they care about. Above all, they want to share content that will be useful for those others in their network. So be a go-to resource for your community. What questions can you answer for them? Ask them, and then go ahead and create that content for them. Don't just add to the online chatter. Before you post something, stop and ask yourself, would this pass the reshare test? Why would I want to click on this information? Why would anyone want to share it? I love this flowchart by Hootsuite, designed to aid you with the creation and the vetting of your social media posts. Ask yourself these questions next time you're about to post something. By the way, a great way to add value for your community is to live tweet from conferences and events. Twitter is fantastic for taking the content of conferences beyond the walls of a conference venue. You can follow along on Twitter using the conference hashtag, and you can share your insights and your key highlights with your followers who cannot be there. And here's an expert super tip to rock your social media. Curate the tweets from the event using Storify, a tool which gathers social media updates and other media from across the web to build a social story. It's one of my favorite tools. And you know, I don't see too many people using it, so it's easy to stand out when you do. Here's a Storify that I did after this year's Medicine X conference at Stanford. And as an added bonus, you can embed the final Storify on your blog, and it looks great. And you can also notify people that their tweets have been curated in the Storify, which is a great way to publicly recognize your followers, but also to attract new followers. Another tip to increase engagement is to always add a picture to all of your online posts, even those that aren't obviously visual. In fact, the shift to visual social media has already occurred, and unless you're communicating using images, you could be missing out on engagement and reach. Research shows that a tweet that includes an image draws more attention than a text-only tweet. The aesthetic quality of images encourages engagement and shares. So I take some time and I create custom graphics to go with all my posts. If you look at my Twitter timeline, you'll see I usually add an image to my tweets. I went too fast there. So here's another tip. You can now add up to 4 images in your tweets for added impact. And again, not everyone does this, so it's another way for you to stand out online. We know that images on Facebook have always performed better than text-only posts. But also adding compelling images to LinkedIn will also make you stand out from the crowd. Here are some of the tools that I use to find royalty-free images, because you must be careful, of course, of copyright when you share images online, and also the tools that I use to create my custom graphics. I really love designing images to go with my posts, and all of these tools are free and very easy to use, and I promise you it's a really great way to stand out online. So to really rock social media, go big, go bold, and go bright. To optimize your engagement, it's also useful to know the best times to post your updates so that they're most likely to reach your audience when they are online. Now, there are a lot of guides out there, and again, I'll add some of the ones that I think are really good to the show notes after this webinar, but it's always best to test and to experiment what works best for your own particular audience. Now, some of you listening today might be wondering, where do you find more people to engage with? Or how do you start to build and grow your online community? Now, I'm afraid I'm going to risk coming across as very biased towards Twitter, but honestly, I do think that Twitter takes the healthcare conversation to another level. I want you to think of it as a digital town square, because here you have a greater mix of patients, of physicians, of healthcare professionals, of researchers, and the public all coming together in one virtual space to discuss healthcare matters. There are several things you can do on Twitter, whether you're a newbie or you are a seasoned tweeter, to grow your followers. Start by drawing up a list of organizations and groups related to your disease or your interest. Go to the website, click on the Twitter follow buttons if they have one, find healthcare professionals, researchers, patient advocates who are tweeting about issues related to your illness. The easiest way to find conversations of interest is to click the native search facility at the top of your Twitter screen and to enter your keyword. So you then have a further option of performing an advanced search. Not everybody knows about this advanced search functionality in Twitter, but it's really wonderful because it allows you to narrow down your search using parameters such as specific keywords, language, people, location, and date range. Twitter's advanced search, I think, is really underutilized, and it's a super way to find targeted people to follow. And by engaging with them, they're more likely to follow you back. Now, you could also use a tool like Twittonomy to search for people and conversations to follow. But whatever way you use it, whatever tools you use, it's a good idea to organize your followers into lists. You can create your own lists, or you can subscribe to lists that have been created by others. I also use a tool called Listly to curate healthcare lists. This screenshot is just some of my lists. I have over 70. I'll add a link to them in the show notes, and you're welcome to use those lists yourself, or if you want me to add your name, particularly to the patient advocates, just tweet me and let me know. And if you're not already there, I'll be delighted to do so. So next, you're going to want to join in the Twitter healthcare conversations. The first place to start is to identify and to make a list of hashtags associated with your topic. Now, if you're new to Twitter and you're not familiar with hashtags, very briefly, they create a hyperlink where the hashtag will then bring up every public update tagged with the same hashtag keyword. By using a hashtag, you can jump on a current trend, you can connect with influencers who share about the same topics as you do, and you can even create your own unique hashtag. There are many different tools you can use to search conversations related to a specific hashtag. Here's an example using a tool called Tagboard. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Alan, who tweets at Ataxia and me, and he's joining this webinar from Wales in the United Kingdom today. So Alan, this is especially for you. My favorite way to find conversations is to join a tweet chat. I'm guessing many of you will already be familiar with these chats, but just in case you're new to them, again, a quick overview. Twitter chat is a public Twitter conversation around one unique hashtag. This hashtag allows you to follow the discussion and to participate in it. Twitter chats can be one-off events. For instance, it can be around a conference or an event, but more usually there are recurring weekly chats to regularly connect people. So there are chats for most disease topics, and a full list, for those who don't already know, can be found by searching the database of the Healthcare Hashtag Project at simpler.com. In addition, it's very useful. You will find past transcripts of chats on the website. Again, this is also a really great way to find Twitter users to follow. Okay, I'm going to try to rein in my Twitter addiction for a few moments to share one more general tip. And again, it's a very simple tip, but it's one that I often see overlooked. Add your social media sites to your email signature. So that's one that I have just done there. But actually, what's even better, I haven't had time to do it yet. It's a new email account. But what's even better is to add social icons. And you can do this by just searching something like Icon Finder, and you can just draw them into your email signature. And it's a really great way to get people to remind them to follow you on social media. Let's turn now to content. When it comes to rocking social content, you should be creating and curating content that is helpful, relevant, and timely, because doing this will grow your audience and it will build trust and credibility over time. I want to speak to you for a moment about curating content. Creating original content, that's content that you write yourself, is wonderful, but it is time and it is resource intensive. So curation helps you provide your audience with relevant, high quality information on a regular basis. And it's important to be consistent with social media, but you can do it through curation without sacrificing your time. But there's an art to doing it well, which includes research, contextualization, and presentation. I curate content on a daily basis using a tool called Scoop It. But we still have an ongoing challenge when it comes to creating and curating great content. It's like the cookie monster. It needs constant feeding. I often hear from people that they struggle to feed the content monster. Either they don't have enough time or they run out of ideas. And I want to address those two issues now. Let's start with managing our time, because we all know that social media can be a bottomless pit. It's easy to get sucked in. The first step is to plan your content in advance. Set aside a day each month to map out upcoming events, holidays, and so on, which you'd like to write or post about. Then use a simple Excel spreadsheet to create your content calendar. Here's the one I use. I told you it's really simple, and sometimes the art of simplicity is the key to success. You can do the same thing with a spreadsheet for social media postings if you wish. Now, plan your updates with a scheduling tool. Here are 4 of my recommendations. The one I like to use the best is Buffer. It's free to schedule up to 10 tweets at once, and it provides basic analytics so that you can quickly see which of your tweets perform the best with its top post icon. You can also choose to connect your Facebook, your Google+, and your LinkedIn accounts. But remember my advice. Actually, I haven't given you that advice. I've just remembered it myself. Be careful when you're syncing. Try to mix things up a little bit. If you're going to tweet something, but then you're going to share it to Facebook, try to change the wording a little bit. And you also have the option to rebuffer or to reshare your best tweets. Now, it's perfectly okay to tweet something several times because things move super fast on Twitter and your audience are reading tweets at different times. So even if all your readers were on the West Coast of America, say, some people look at Twitter in the morning, some people at lunch, some people at night. So even if they're all in the same geographic area, their reading habits may be different. Okay, now back to feeding the content monster. Where do you find content to feed it? Well, the first place I start is I keep an ideas file. So when I come across something useful, but I'm not ready to use it straight away, I pop it into either Google Docs or Evernote. If you don't already use Evernote, I really encourage you to try it. It's so useful. It helps you to store notes, URLs, content ideas, images. It also allows you to manage your notes from your desktop or from a mobile device with all of your content then synced. And what I really love about it is that you can add tags, you can create folders for easy retrieval. And the Evernote Chrome extension, if you use Google Chrome, makes it really simple to save links as you browse the web. It's a superpower tool to really help you rock social media. You can also find inspiration with a tool like AllTop, which aggregates RSS feeds from tens of hundreds of thousands of blogs and websites, and it organizes them by topic. I actually got a nice surprise when I went to screenshot this today as I spotted my own blog listed here. Another RSS feed tool, and this is one of my favorites, it's Feedly. I really like it because I just love how it looks. It's very visually appealing. You could also check out Google Trends or what's trending on Twitter. I know I just can't help myself when it comes to mentioning Twitter, but do that for inspiration. So those are some of my content and curation tips. And now I want to share some of my power tips to rock your social platforms. Let's start with Facebook. So with Facebook, it's a very challenging platform right now because of EdgeRank. And the concept with EdgeRank is that people should only see what's relevant to them. But the thing is, you don't get to decide what's relevant to them. The Facebook algorithm does. So even though many people may be following you or have liked you, it's not true that everybody will see all your content because Facebook has decided you would get flooded by content if it did this. So it's deciding what you should see. So one of the things you have to do with Facebook is always try to be cognizant that not everybody is going to see this. So you have to operate at a very high standard because the more people that interact, the more people that share, and the more people that comment on your Facebook page, the more people will see it. So keep that in the back of your mind. So here are some tips to make sure that more people do see what you do. Number 1, use video. Video is very successful on Facebook and actually a specific form of video. When you upload a video natively, that is, as opposed to adding it via, say, YouTube, it performs much, much better. So that's tip number 1. Secondly, Facebook Live is huge and you can get in at the start. Not as much competition right now, but that's going to change. I read something that the Facebook CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, said recently on his Facebook page. He said, live is like having a TV camera in your pocket. Anyone with a phone now has the power to broadcast to anyone in the world. This is a big shift in how we communicate, and it's going to create new opportunities for people to come together. So I think that the beauty of live video is that it's more raw, it's more honest than professionally produced video. And really, that's what people are looking for now. And it'll also help you attract, to engage, to entertain, to build relationships with your audience in a far more authentic way. Number 2, use Facebook Insights. There's a lot of great analytics that Facebook provides you about who's watching your video, and you can find those insights straight in there in your page. It's going to, this screenshot shows you the overview tab, and it's going to give you the most important data about your page at a glance, including new page likes, post reach, and engagement for the last week or the last month or whatever parameters you want to set. Beneath this, you'll see data about your most recent page posts, including the type of post, targeting, reach, clicks, and engagement, alongside the amount you spend, if you do, promoting your posts using Facebook ads. This is the first time I've mentioned paying for anything on social media, because as we know, most things are free. But unfortunately with Facebook, you do have to pay to play. The Likes tab shows your page's fan growth. You can use the date selector to view data from the last week, from the last month, or from the last quarter. And as you hover over your total page like graphs, you can see the number of likes you had on a particular date. And you can see that using this information, you can really get a better sense of what works, what doesn't work, what you need to do more of, what times you need to post updates. Beneath this, then, you'll get a breakdown of how your likes changed on a daily basis, including people who unliked you, organic likes, paid likes, and net likes, which is the total likes minus the unlikes. And you can also see where your page likes come from. This tab can help you gauge whether your page is growing at the rate you would like, and whether you're getting the most new fans from organic traffic or, again, from ads. If you want to know how much reach your Facebook posts have received, this can be found in the Reach tab. You can get a breakdown of positive actions, such as likes, comments, and shares on your Facebook posts. You can also get a breakdown of negative actions, such as the number of times your posts have been hidden, reported as spam, or caused someone to unlike your page. So you can see this is really valuable information. And again, sometimes people just aren't looking at it, but even if they're looking at it, they're not really drilling down into those stats and really using it. The Visits tab is one of the most informative. This is where you can see the areas of your Facebook page that people visit the most, including your timeline, your information, or your photo tabs. Okay, moving away from analytics, I want to share another power tool with you. It's called Page Modo, and you can use it to create Facebook tabs, to run contests, to design a cover image, or a really striking visual post, and to schedule updates. That's one I really recommend. Okay, back to my favorite platform. Twitter's statistics are mind-blowing. Every second, on average, around 6,000 tweets every second are tweeted on Twitter, which corresponds to over 350,000 tweets sent per minute, 500 million tweets per day, and around 200 billion tweets per year. So how on earth do you get your tweets noticed in that daily tweet storm? So I've already shared some of my favorite Twitter tips with you, like live tweeting, scheduling your tweets, using advanced search, and always adding an image to your update. But I still have a few more tips to share with you. First up, Twitter polls. Again, another underutilized feature. Last week, I wanted to do some research for an article I'm writing on the ethics of using Twitter as a research tool. So I created a poll. And here's the bonus tip. After I created the poll, I created a storify of those tweets. So people also tweeted as well as taking the poll. I added them to the conversation, and that's been shared many times. And it's also sparked more conversations with people who didn't see the original poll. Next tip. It may be tempting to cram as many hashtags as you can into a tweet, but please restrain yourself. Research shows that tweets with more than 2 hashtags actually see a drop in engagement. Okay, one more tool. Click to Tweet is a cool free tool which generates one-click tweet boxes or links that can be shared through your website, through your blog, or via email. It's a powerful way to increase your social shares and to highlight quotes or key statistics or key takeaways that you want people to tweet about. Now, one more thing. Have you tried Moments? It's one of Twitter's newest tools. It's a little bit like Storify in that you can curate tweets and create a story called Moments around them. Again, it's another simple way to highlight your best tweets or to show some love to your best followers. Here's one I did for World Kindness Day last month. I simply gathered a selection of tweets from people who were tweeting about the day. I put them all together. I notified people when the moment was published, and it worked out really nicely. Again, as with Facebook, dive into your Twitter analytics. It's not quite as robust as the Facebook analytics, but there's plenty there for you to get your teeth into. It's custom built within the platform. Use it to see which tweets perform the best, do more of what increases your engagement, and less of what doesn't. Again, simple. There are also tools like Tweet Reach, which generates reports that allows you to see at a glance the reach and the exposure data for your tweets. And I showed you Twitonomy earlier, and it also lets you measure your mentions, your reach, your follower growth, your click-throughs, and your tweeted links. There's lots of data to measure, and I really like how it's presented in a very visually appealing way. LinkedIn. When it comes to LinkedIn, complete your profile with a professional bio. This isn't the place to be funny, and do include a professional headshot. Here's my next tip. Integrate SlideShare, which is owned by LinkedIn, into your LinkedIn profile. So if you're doing a presentation, put your slides up on SlideShare, and then integrate your SlideShare into your LinkedIn account. It's very simple to do. I do this all the time, and again, I think SlideShare is massively unused. My final LinkedIn tip is to make use of LinkedIn's publishing platform. Again, not enough people are doing this. So create, as opposed to curate, 50 or 500 to maybe 1,000-word articles and post them on LinkedIn. Now, this, in a sense, is a bit different from blogging. So what I do is I take the same story that I'm creating or that I'm posting on my blog, and I post it onto LinkedIn as if it were a separate blog. I usually change things around a little bit, but they're two different markets, two different sets of readers, much more exposure. Taking advantage of LinkedIn's publishing platform has a number of benefits. First of all, your posts become part of your profile, and as you can see, it looks kind of good. It lives in a section directly under the top overview section. In addition, when you publish something new, it's shared with all your connections and followers, so they are immediately notified. The content is also searchable on and off LinkedIn, which is huge, so it's a really great tip, I think. When Google Plus was first released, I set up my account with very high hopes, but over the years, I've naturally gravitated more towards Twitter and LinkedIn, and I failed to keep up the momentum of posting on Google Plus. But actually, recently, I've changed that again, because I was reminded that Google Plus is still a very effective platform for branding yourself and for sharing content, and most importantly, for being found online. For a start, everyone you email can see your Google Plus profile if you use Gmail. And I certainly use Gmail, and so do 1 billion people worldwide. So here's the great benefit of Google Plus and Gmail used together. Your Google Plus profile appears in every one of the emails you send for whoever opens your email in Gmail on desktop. Another reason to share blog posts on Google Plus is it's a really excellent way to rank for keyword terms that you might otherwise not be able to, and also to drive search traffic to your Google Plus profile and then back to your blog and your website. So look what happens when I Google which types of social media posts get the most engagement. And this is the Google search, the front page of the Google search, the first 3 to 5 search results. And you can see I come up with the second, all because I posted this to Google+. So you can see how really powerful this is. Okay, Pinterest. First tip, don't pin your personal photos. It's unlikely that your personal photos are good enough to compare with most of the professional stuff that's posted on Pinterest. Now, Instagram is a different story. Instagram is about your slice of life. Next tip on Pinterest is to use very few or really no hashtags. Unlike Instagram, where hashtags are open season, Pinterest, there seems to be a bias against a lot of hashtags. I think it takes away from the visual aesthetic. Another tip. So you have your Pinterest account and you control the position of the boards on your account. I think that you should rotate them every once in a while. So don't always keep the same board at the top. You want to show people a diversity of interest. Move things around. Next thing is to keep your cover photos fresh, because there's such a desire for beauty and diversity on Pinterest. You really need to rotate that. Keep it fresh, keep it looking new. And that's my Pinterest advice. Instagram, as I just said, is about sharing slices of your life, pictures that you took, pictures that you find interesting or funny or whatever. So it's about a slice of life. It's your filter that you're showing to people, what your passions are, what interests you. Next thing is Instagram wants you to use hashtags. So Pinterest, minimal use of hashtags. Instagram, go crazy. Put a lot of hashtags in there. The more hashtags, the more likely that you're going to be found on Instagram. You can actually add up to 30 hashtags per post. And I think the general advice has been that 11 is probably the optimal number, but you can go crazy. Back in the summer, Instagram launched Stories, a new feature that lets you share all the moments of your day, not just the ones you want to keep on your profile. As you share multiple photos and videos, they appear together in a slideshow format, your story. Of course, for those who are already familiar with Snapchat, you'll know that Instagram swiped that idea straight from their playbook. Now, I'm not going to have enough time to get into Snapchat because I've just looked at the clock and realized that time is racing away from me. I just want to say one more thing. Instagram Live, it's brand new, it's being rolled out to users. It will give watchers the ability to access live broadcasts, removing access from the app when you finish broadcasting. So again, live video is set to be huge in 2017 on all platforms. Periscope for Twitter, Facebook Live, Snapchat, YouTube, and now Instagram. So I have a ton more tips I could share with you, but I run out of time. So if you're interested in learning more, I send out a weekly newsletter to subscribers with all the latest social media updates you should know about. And I share lots of tips like the ones I just shared today. So tweet me or email me and I'll send you the link to describe. And now I'm going to see if I can manage to unshare my screen and get my video back up.
My goodness,
I think I've managed to give myself a black eye. I've talked so much, I've given myself a black eye.
I learned so much in that. I am like mind blown from the amount of applications and different types of things we can look into for Twitter. I am so bad at Twitter. So I'm grateful for all of that. I know everyone is. We have a few questions that we want to get to.
Okay, great.
The first is, Barbie asked, do you put the blog post and the LinkedIn post at the same time if you're promoting a post on that, or do you give time in between both platforms?
I give time. I just like to do it that way because if I give a little bit of time, I find that when I go back, I've maybe read something or something else has occurred to me. So I can just, for me, it feels fresher if I give it that little bit of time. Sometimes it's just as much as maybe 24 hours, but that's the way I do it. There's nothing wrong with doing both together. What I have noticed a lot of people do is that if they've written a blog post, they'll put their blog post up onto LinkedIn in the LinkedIn publishing, and they'll do a first few lines and then say, click through to my blog to read. I wouldn't do that because you want to try to capture two different audiences and you want to showcase your profile on LinkedIn as well. So I wouldn't do that. I see a lot of people do that. There's nothing wrong with doing it, but that's not what I would recommend.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Okay. And then similarly, she was asking, if you have a video on Facebook and YouTube, do you put them on the same time or should you maybe, I think you kind of answered this now, but so it's probably better to separate it rather than say putting it out on YouTube and then sharing it through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been made very, very clear by Facebook that it will give preference to natively uploaded. So if you've got a video, upload it yourself using the Facebook uploader. Again, it's very simple to do. You can also put it on YouTube, but do not upload it just with the link using YouTube. For a start, the natively uploaded ones play bigger. They look bigger, they play better. But again, Facebook will not pay as much attention to ones that have been uploaded via a link. Always upload natively.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat box. I know that was a lot of information. We will be, she's sharing it on the slide share, and we can get that image cheat sheet out to everyone as well.
Absolutely. I'll make all those resources available. The slides will be on SlideShare, and I just love talking about social media. So anytime anybody wants to ask a question, they can email me, they can tweet me, and I will be very happy to answer it.
Awesome. We do have one that we kind of went over. Brett came in late. So what's the best way to get people from Facebook to interact? Maybe just some quick power platform tips for that one.
Ask good questions. that's the best tip that I can give. It's not always going to work. Try to get creative with the question. Try to ask a question that you really, I think one of the things, and again, I probably spent quite a bit of time at the beginning. People were maybe expecting really power tools, but I cannot stress this enough. It's really important to get things right from the beginning, but to listen as well. So listen in. What are people talking about? If you ask a question that is maybe trending on Twitter, you're more likely to get that engagement. And again, you may even know the answer. That's okay. It gives somebody a chance to talk about it. It gives a conversation to happen. And Facebook will recognize that there is interaction on your page. Nothing will happen with a dead page.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Oh, we have one more. What kind of live video can you do as an advocate? Maybe do ideas?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is a great question. And again, I just want to say, I actually hate being on video. So I have not gone near Facebook Live. No, I just hate it. I really, really do. So I have not gone near Facebook Live, but I have recommended this to everyone. Try to get in there early because we are in an early stage. You're going to be able to stand out. I actually just did a quick search. I will answer that question in one moment, but I just want to say this. I did a quick search last night to see how many things were happening on Facebook Live. And at a particular point in time, I think it was 8 p.m. last night, and there was very, very, very little happening at a particular time. So you can really get in there. Okay, so what can you do? You could do a Q&A with another patient advocate, with a healthcare professional. You could go to a conference or an event. You could interview somebody. You could do a quick kind of a snapshot of what your impressions were. You can do anything that you think people will like to watch. Again, it's very like Periscope. People went crazy for Periscope when it first came out. You can Periscope with permission. People's sessions. It's limitless what you can do.
Yeah, I really liked your idea of sharing at the conference. I thought that was a great idea because everyone in these things, but they always can't. So it's really good to throw up a Facebook Live and share that experience with the whole community.
Absolutely.
Really
it's
awesome.
Super. And again, okay, you're doing it. It looks great. You're getting a bit of attention, but you're going back to basic principles, fundamentals, and I'm going to say it again. Don't add to the noise online. What can you do? How can you add value? And if people cannot attend, I know at the moment the San Antonio Breast Cancer Conference is on. It's huge, but I'm not there. I can't go, but I'll be following what people are tweeting from it. If there's going to be any Facebook Live sessions, I will be glued to that. And I will feel like I am learning directly, immediately from there. So don't forget, we're doing a big service. If you go to an event, if you go to a conference, you are doing a huge service to those of us who cannot go. So please make that effort to live tweet, to share what you've learned there.
And then we'll have time for one last question. Ross asks, how do you get around the Facebook paid advertising of your page?
I know. I don't pay for advertisements. I have actually decided that Facebook, look, I've gone on about Twitter. I've decided that Facebook is not worth me paying for. It's not worth me putting that amount of effort in. I get far more return for my time and the effort that I put in using Twitter, using LinkedIn, using SlideShare. So that doesn't answer your question in one way, but in another way it kind of does, which is, where can you actually get better traction maybe? And if you really, really need to, go for Facebook advertising. But honestly, my advice is if really you can get away with it, then don't do it and focus on something that you can really shine in. Because Facebook, I'm sorry, it's just weighted against us.
Right, like you said, match effort with effort. I really loved that. And I thought that was simple, but like a really awesome rule to apply to all social media platforms.
Yeah, I said these are going to be very, very simple. And sometimes, expertise is simple. You just have to get the basics right, and you just have to do what you're good at and stay and not try to spread yourself too thin.
Key there. No, never spread yourself too thin. Something a lot of us activists maybe do sometimes. So definitely a good lesson there. But thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you all
so much, everyone. We will make sure that you get the slides available as well as that cheat sheet. So no worries there. And thank you all for attending. We appreciate it. And we're all clapping for you because that was a phenomenal webinar, and we all learned so much.
I clap for you as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.